Happy New Year, everyone. We are Invisible Walls, and we are here to kick 2012 squarely in the crotch.
Wow. Couldn't you have just said, hope you had a great holiday season? Although we do have some kickings to dish out today, so that's fine.
Yeah, definitely. And I do hope everyone had a great and safe holiday season. Hope everybody got at least one thing that they really wanted on their Christmas list. I have to say, the best thing that ever happened to me at Christmas was an Amazon wish list. Every year, I get a pile of crap I don't care about. This year, I did a wish list on Amazon, and everything I got, I actually wanted. Pro tip.
I didn't know they sold sex toys on Amazon.
Just used.
Yeah. So anyway, here we are with our first episode of the year. Things are typically a little slow around this time of year, but we are going to talk about some big topics today, namely our Game of the Year awards, always full of controversy, although I think this year they went over a little more smoothly with a couple exceptions. Ryan looking at the table longingly.
Grandma?
We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the games we played over the holidays. We're going to talk about our most anticipated games of 2012. Talk about some Xbox Live hacks. Grump is back in the house for a rant. And that will wrap up the show. So let's get straight to it. Marcus is here today.
Bonjour.
Ryan Stevens, as
Hello.
you heard from already. And the voice of Game Trailers, Brandon Jones, is on the show.
Happy New Year, everybody.
And later on, we'll bring Bloodworth on to talk to you guys about the Vita. Without further ado, let's get right to it.
Game Trailers 2011 Game of the Year Awards.
All right, so first we're going to talk about the Game Trailers Game of the Year Awards for 2011. We probably should just jump straight to the most controversial categories of
Best
all.
soundtrack.
Best soundtrack, definitely. Actually, there was a lot of ire over Best Soundtrack.
Yeah.
People were pretty angry that Deus Ex did not make the cut.
Yeah.
This is the first year we've done that category. And Bloodworth kind of took it by the reins and did a lot of the research for us and then kind of came in and presented to the editorial team what he had found, so to speak. There were tough cuts there. In fact, that was one of the more difficult categories I think we had narrowing down the nominees. I think we had like 8 or 9 completely viable nominees that could have made that list. We did try to show a little love to the games that didn't make it. For instance, we did use some music from Deus Ex in the intro of that segment. And we were trying to do that to give the game a nod. Ultimately, all it ended up doing, it seemed, was angering the people that it was not in the actual nominees.
Our actual goal. Complete ire.
In Bloodworth's defense, he came by my office at least twice a month throughout the entirety of 2011, being like, hey, I just added this folder in there. Hey, I have this soundtrack. We just got that in. Like, take a listen. Let me know what you think. Like, he was very, very... He cared about that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
He put a lot of work
During
into
our
that.
selection process, we listened to, literally, almost in their entirety, 3 or 4 songs from every game. It took a long time to get through that. And ultimately, music is very subjective. I love house music. Some people absolutely hate it. It's kind of hard to pick a winner. I mean, we found 8 or 9 that were worthy. And then the winners, that's our opinion.
Who's the winner?
The winner for Best Soundtrack was Skyrim.
Absolutely got it 100% right. I have no quibbles with you. I think that is the best soundtrack of the year. It's the first one that when I'm playing a game that I get the little hairs on the back of my neck because it's pumping in through the surround sound. When just to hear that orchestral score come in, even when you're finding the word of power for the first time, and you can hear it just building, the chanting building, and you get up close. I mean, that is epic. The only other one that I think could have won is Bastion.
Yeah.
And I think those are probably the two.
We listened to a lot of the Bastion, and I think when we all listened to those songs without playing the game, it wasn't quite as powerful, but it was certainly one of the top 2 or 3 on our list. It was a tough decision. The other one I think that was probably really controversial, or maybe not, is our Best RPG. I think that is the category that we definitely argued over the most. We probably spent, about an hour and 10 minutes, Ryan, on that one?
Oh, yeah, easily.
That was the Ryan Stevens Award, yeah?
No. That was, honestly,
It
I think probably the bigger shocker is that I think The Witcher 2 was even more neck and neck than Skyrim.
Well, I think The Witcher 2 in general was probably the biggest surprise overall in our awards. The game kind of came out a little early. A lot of times games like that get lost in the shuffle. We try to make a point to make sure games do not get lost in the shuffle, and we go back and really make sure we pull out the good games from earlier in the year. But I think as our discussions went on, everything started kind of coming out in the wash, we realized that it was one of the best games of the entire year. And it ended up winning, It won one award and was nominated for 5, something like that.
It was nominated up the
A ton,
wazoo. Yeah.
Great game.
I gotta say, I haven't really had a chance to play Witcher 2. I mean, obviously, I've played Skyrim to tits, and I've played a little bit of Dark Souls, and it's just down to personal preference. I would have gone with Skyrim, simply because I think, and this, all the haters hold back. It's just my personal feeling about Dark Souls. I did give it a try, but it honestly felt like a kind of older PC game that was kind of unfinished. And I know a lot of people are laughing, oh, Skyrim is, needs all the mods to get it to work and everything. And I didn't feel that with Skyrim.
See, I don't have anything against Skyrim at all. It's just as finely tuned as that experience is, it wasn't it didn't deliver the experience that took me to that next level, if I can use all this, blasé shit that we use all the time. That and I had played a ton of Demon Souls in the past, but Dark Souls just felt like an evolution. But that was kind of one of the big debates that we had, and believe everyone, this was not an easy decision.
Well,
I'm kind of stunned X-Men Destiny didn't make the list, though. Which one? X-Men Destiny.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, basically what happened was we came in the room, everybody on staff basically wanted Dark Souls to win. And I had...
Except for Damiani wanted some Japanese RPG no one's ever heard of.
Right. And I had played Dark Souls. I had not played much of Skyrim at that point, but as kind of this impartial guy, I kind of played devil's advocate and took the side of Skyrim because, in all honesty, I knew Skyrim was going to win Game of the Year at pretty much every site and blah, 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 and it did. And so I just felt like somebody needed to be in the room to kind of be that asshole, for lack of a better term. It's kind of raining on everybody's parade and bringing everybody back down to reality.
And let's throw in the... you were the de facto asshole in this because I'm a freelancer, I'm not involved in this,
Yeah, Marcus was not involved in our Game of the Year discussion, so don't hold him accountable for any of our decisions.
And your Game of the Year was Skyrim, right?
More than Batman? Actually, on my own site, I did my top 10, and Skyrim was number 1. But more on that a little bit later. But yeah, so
I ended up playing Skyrim later. And basically what happened was pretty much the whole team, I could not talk them down off the ledge, and it was pretty much, I wouldn't say it was unanimous, but mostly unanimous that Dark Souls should win. Our Game of the Year awards aren't the year-end awards for the games most people are going to like. They're Game Trailers Game of the Year awards, and this was the RPG that our editorial staff liked the most. And ultimately, as the editor-in-chief, I have to bow to that and respect what the editorial staff believes.
Yeah, I think role-playing or not, that's really the tough thing to determine quality, one game over another. I think Dark Souls is proving yourself as a human being, and Skyrim's kind of like eating an ice cream sundae. They're really just going to give you everything in Skyrim. You have so much choice. Where I played Dark Souls for 2 hours and really tried to get into it. And I'm like, this is just not this RPG just isn't built into the DNA of why I like RPGs. It's really frustrating.
And that's what happened with me, and I think that's what happened with Marcus, and I brought that up during our discussions. But again, it's not what game do we think most people are going to like the most? It's what game does the GT editorial staff
there are a bunch of, Patrick plays a lot of RPGs. So, I mean, if he comes down on the side of Dark
and all
Souls,
these guys
you
do.
can't, you
I
can't
totally
really quibble
respect
that.
their opinion, and at a certain point, and I hadn't even played Skyrim at that point, so I was purely just being devil's advocate to make sure we got the right choice.
Yeah. Let me take you to an award that I had a bunch of people tweeting me about, which was the PC Game of Year. Mm-hmm. And that was Arkham City. Yep. That was the one that won. Yep. And a lot of people are confused why, a PC port that is, while absolutely gorgeous, relies on a joypad. It's not necessarily a game that you would pick as a phenomenal PC game. When you look at, say, the likes of, say, Portal 2 earlier this year, phenomenal PC game. Deus Ex
Portal
on the PC.
2, console game.
But on the PC, it's so is Batman Arkham City.
Right. So
Deus Ex better on the PC. Skyrim again better on the PC, and they are better on the PC. And it's just
Batman was the best version on the PC.
Well, I just I'm relaying to you the stuff that I've I've had, so people would like to know what was going on behind.
Well,
it.
I mean, I saw the Portal argument. Yeah, I mean, I think we only had a handful of awards that got nothing actually got a low user vote, but a couple in the 7s, and it was PC and first person shooter and maybe one other. RPG actually, no one really shout on that one too much. But Portal 2 is a fantastic game, but I don't think we quite, as our staff again put it, as quite the pedestal that some other outlets have. Same with Deus Ex. Deus Ex is a great game and it's not an excellent game.
Yeah.
I
Deus Ex to me doesn't even belong in the discussion.
I
but-
disagree with you on that one simply because I love Deus Ex on the PC, and I've been playing it a lot, and I think it's a banger PC game, so much so that I enjoy it way more than the Xbox version. Because the Xbox version is just having the mouse and
I mean,
keyboard.
I
I will
don't
say
really-
I
in
will
my
say that
opinion, I
the
don't really
shooting
care which
game the
version.
shooting game works better on the PC
Yeah.
with Deus Ex.
Just-
But
again,
the
that's
best
just my
PC
opinion.
Game Award is not the award for the game that plays best with a mouse and keyboard. It's what is the best game that is available for that platform. And we go through this every year after our awards. And Batman Arkham City was the best game released for the PC this year. I mean,
in the opinion of the GT
Right.
edit,
well,
the
I
GT
think even
staff,
if you
yeah.
look across the board in general, Batman was generally reviewed much more highly than the other games that were nominated in that category. So I mean, PC gamers, they're a little more touchy than some other folks.
Well,
They-
I think it's got to the stage where the Nintendo fanboys and the PC fanboys and the PS3 fanboys and the Xbox fanboys, they all have their camps, and they're all
Right.
just as touchy. And and
I
I
don't
think
know
that
about
the PC guys, always feel, they do feel perhaps a
I
little
think
bit
they feel like they're
shafted because
slighted all the time for
the-
some reason, but I don't
they have
understand
to
why
wait.
the award.
Well, they have to wait longer. I mean, for example, Batman had to go through Games for Windows Live, which is a fucking travesty.
But let's go back to though Batman. They did take the time to make that game much better for the PC. It was not just a port. It was not just the 360 or PS3 code running in high res on the PC. They made a concerted effort to address PC, and I'm kind of surprised at the response to this because, to me, PC gamers should be happy that they actually did that and they took the time to make the use of the PC hardware and to make the game look better. It's a better version than what you get on the consoles. That's the bottom line. So instead of everybody being all angry, they should be happy that one of these developers actually took the time to show them a little love and get them a better version of the game.
I think one of the other things, and this is just not my opinion, just perhaps my take on it, is that because Batman is primarily a console game, where
See, I don't look at anything like that.
hang on,
I don't look at any
let
game
me-
and say
let me
this is
finish.
this game. I just
let
look
me,
at the game.
Let me finish. I mean, I'm just perhaps throwing from their perspective, from what I've picked up on the tweets, is that you do have games that are more traditionally PC, such as Skyrim.
But why is that traditionally PC? Why is that?
It's a huge, vast RPG. That's
So
generally
why? They've been on
Didn't they
consoles
like not have
forever.
hotkeys and stuff? Like it was played pretty much like the console version.
it did. Yeah, I mean,
you told me
you're not
you
wrong.
played Skyrim on your PC with an Xbox controller.
Yeah.
So
No, I'm basically throwing you the perspective from the people who've been in touch with me, who've
Right.
Tweeted me
I
over
mean, they
Christmas
tweet
and
me too,
Facebook me,
but-
and these are the guys who listen to our show. So if I'm putting, I need to put their point forward. I can see your points with regards to Batman being,
I mean, it was
the
your
best game
runner-up
on
for
the
Game
PC.
of the Year.
It was my runner-up. It was my runner-up, and
So how can that not be best
it's
PC?
it's still my runner-up for Game of Year. I mean, I've got a new sort of like entry at number 3, but we'll talk about that another time. But yeah, I just wanted to throw and get some clarification on that, on your thoughts
I mean,
behind it.
basically
It's
we
not
just-
me having a pop at you or the award
Sure.
system. So
I mean, essentially, we just chose the best game that was released for the PC. And we got to talk about first-person shooter because that is the one that always draws the most ire. And Marcus is just going to leave the room. There he goes. So best first-person shooter, Modern Warfare 3 won. Honestly, in our discussions for our Game of the Year awards, I think the discussion lasted about 15 seconds. Like, I don't even know if there was any debate at all. Like, everyone in the room just said Modern Warfare 3, and that was it. So it wasn't like it was really a tightly contested category.
No, I don't think so.
I don't even think it was close.
Is that going to make people feel better?
I'm not trying to make people feel better.
I'm
That's
just
not my job.
and I am sitting here. I'm not even commenting on Modern Warfare, on the Modern Warfare franchise anymore. So it's like I always come off as a hater, and I don't want to be a hater. It's good New Year. We're all good.
Yeah, I mean, probably in a sentence, the way that was decided is we look at the whole game. And from top to bottom, it's like the campaign in Modern Warfare 3 just destroys Battlefield 3. In my opinion, I don't think Battlefield 3 was even in second. I mean, I would take Killzone 3 over Battlefield 3 in all honesty. So it came
Everything's starting to
blend together and
blend
bleed
together.
But
Like,
when you
God,
have a
even
shoddy,
even Crisis 2,
it was really good, yeah.
but even that one, I mean, when you jump into the multiplayer, even starting to feel very samey.
Yeah.
I think if you look at a lot of these genres, you can see people that are willing to experiment with different games. I think people that play Skyrim are probably that own a PC are probably gonna check out The Witcher, and I think there are a lot of people that are gonna check out Battlefield 3 that are not going to touch Call of Duty, like for whatever fanboy reasons. And so I think that's why you might have more of a divide, why it might drag the percentage down to 7, because these people are just a little more committed to these franchises, and they can play them for longer because these multiplayer communities are so big.
Yeah, I totally get your point, Brandon. And I think another thing too is that Battlefield 3 could have turned out to be a total pile of dog crap, and the people who are saying it should have won would still be saying that it should have won. I mean, and truth be told, the campaign in that game is kind of a pile of dog crap. So you can't just ignore a part, a very important part of a game and say, oh, well, this doesn't count. It does count. Everything you put in the game counts when you're spending money on a game. The value you're getting out of that game matters. So as far as shooters go, Modern Warfare, great campaign, great co-op, great multiplayer, wins the category.
So let's talk Game of the Year.
Yep, the big dog.
And the big dog was?
Uncharted 3. Again, not a whole lot of discussion about that. I think it wasn't even necessarily because we needed to have discussion, because we had done all the other awards at that point, and a lot of times once you've gone through every category, things kind of just fall into place just due to logic. Because you start looking at the other awards and you're like, well, if this won this, then it can't win that, and if that didn't win this, then it can't. It all just kind of comes out in the wash, and that's the last award we select. And again, it was a pretty easy decision, maybe the easiest or shortest Game of the Year discussion we've had.
It was pretty simple.
Except for maybe Mario
Galaxy was pretty easy.
Yeah.
Actually, I feel like the GOTYs are, because of what you just said, of how we kind of boil it down at the end. It's never really too much of a big fight.
Oh yeah, it's
and
almost
again,
like a math equation, because we sit there because we know you guys, we know what you're gonna do. You're gonna go and look through our awards, and you're gonna try to find discrepancies. You're gonna say, but if this game won this, then how does it win that? So we are very, very cautious about how it all nets out, and it's almost like this equation at the end. It's like equals Uncharted 3.
Well, I mean, I think the single player campaign award was kind of factored into this, if you look at this as a math equation.
Yeah.
And, this was kind of, this is where Uncharted went kind of neck and neck with Batman, where Batman has maybe more time to do things, but Uncharted just executed everything so perfectly. And then Uncharted, if you go back to the first-person shooter argument we just had, it was the full suite with, interesting co-op, interesting multiplayer. It's not just deathmatch. There's a lot of little tweaks and stuff that really appreciated a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, and it kind of worked in some of the campaign elements into the multiplayer, which, granted, it's not the first game to ever do that, but
it does it well.
It's probably the game that does it better than any other game before it. So.
Yeah, and Uncharted 3 did not get this award because Uncharted 2 was gypped, 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I saw that conspiracy theory.
Yeah, it was not a make good.
But I still think it's interesting that a lot of people think that Uncharted 2 is the better game, which I find people can have opinions, but
Sure.
I did find that obviously Uncharted 1's the weakest of the series.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
But I just felt like the pacing of Uncharted 3 and the execution of the stuff was just
I
so
thought
well
the campaign
done.
was way better in Uncharted 3. Uncharted 2 was great, way over the top, though, and I felt like this one dialed it back a little bit and was better for it in the process. And
you still kill a lot of dudes.
Oh, yeah, but nowhere near as many, man. Like, the body count is probably 40% of what was in Uncharted 2, and I got sick of those slogs in Uncharted 2, and I felt like it was more balanced. The puzzles were better here.
Definitely.
I liked the story a lot better, a lot less popcorn, summer movie flick, a lot more thoughtful. And the multiplayer, I don't think anyone can deny that the multiplayer hasn't been improved from Uncharted 2. So that was our decision. Like I said, I think going into this, I knew that Skyrim was going to win the majority of the Game of the Year awards, just from talking to other journalists and interacting with our colleagues in the industry. But that's not how we do things. We're not a follow the leader, and hopefully you guys recognize that from GT, and that's why you come to our site, because we're not sheep, and we do think for ourselves, and hopefully, ultimately, at the end of the year, our editorial comes out to be true and clear and bright. So that's it. Our Game of the Year awards for 2011. Hope you guys enjoyed them. We'll see you next year.
Here we go. Shh. It's undrinkable.
So the holidays, always a great time to kind of catch up on any games you may have missed over the holiday season, or even earlier than that in some cases. I kind of mentioned already that I dove into Skyrim. I've actually still not finished Skyrim. It is one beast of a game, but I am loving the hell out of it. But we're going to talk a little bit about what we have been doing over the last couple weeks. Any games that we decided, it's worth it to spend my vacation playing. Marcus, where have you been burning your time?
All right, well, I made myself a resolution that I was going to finish off all the best games of 2011, including Skyrim, which I still haven't finished. And then those fuckers at BioWare, they released the Old Republic, and that is what I have been playing. Once I got through the download issues, once I got through some of the the access issues. But yeah, my main's Sith Warrior, and I gotta say the Sith missions, bunch of fun. Loving it, absolutely loving it. I think, it feels like the Old Republic, on steroids. Really, really loving that. I like the bounty hunter missions. I had a crack at some of those as well. Recently, as in yesterday, I started playing with a couple of industry friends, and we decided that we were going to start a Jedi sort of little group. And I got to say, the Jedi Consular, boring as
Good guys are always boring.
Yeah, I mean, it was just... I mean, it's also that, I've gone from, having, playing level 25 where I've got my speeder, I've got my ship. Actually, I'm level 27. The speeder, ship, I've got the sprint, all this. And then all of a sudden, I'm back at the beginning. I'm playing as a consular. I have to play nice. I can't just chop things up left, right, and center. And it's not where I am right now. I need to be somewhere where, I went from being on Tatooine and chopping up Jawas and sand people to, trying to be nice to a couple of, a boy and girl Jedi who fell in love and wanted to hide their relationship. And I'm like, oh, this is not for me. So that's something I'll
Game's
go.
been doing
I'll
pretty
go
well,
back to.
though. I saw yesterday 350,000 concurrent users, their biggest number so far, 1 million subscribers.
First day, they had 1 million subscribers.
Ryan, what were you playing?
I was away from my consoles for the vast majority of the vacation, so I brought my trusty little 3DS. I got Pushmo, which I think having not be able to see 3D was probably not the smartest purchase. It's a fun little game, but definitely not for me. And then I replayed all of VVVVV, which is fucking amazing. I mean, it's a little pricey for what's probably about 2.5 hour game, but it's just pure core mechanics, one simple mechanic, and the guy Terry Kavanaugh is just able to make it. There's no filler in there, and there's some player levels that they ported over from the PC, and there was one by Notch, the guy who did Minecraft, so it was kind of fun to go through that. And then I brought my little netbook, so I yeah. I grabbed some of the Steam stuff, so I checked out Space Chem and Binding of Isaac. I got most of the really cheap stuff. Yeah. And I tried this is probably the third time I've tried to fall in love with Bastion, but I don't know. The game does not click with me. Yeah. I don't think it's bad or anything. It's just I maybe I just have to put a little more time into it, but I'm really not seeing where all of the mass love is. I will admit the music is fucking great, though.
Well, I don't think that it's not that it reviewed extremely high or anything like that. I think it's
pretty
like a charming game that's fun.
It's charming. It feels a little bit retro. It feels almost like Super Nintendo with this isometric view.
I feel like playing it with a keyboard and mouse is not the way to do it either. I feel like
it is one of the ones
the controller probably would have been better.
And I got to say that the voice does, the narrator does get on my tits after a while.
It's polarizing. Some people love it. Some people hate it.
I love it.
I didn't particularly like it. I liked the concept. I didn't like the execution. He sounded like a jazz man or something like that, which didn't really match with like the game. So, Jones, what did you play?
I also played a lot of Old Republic, not near as much as I would have liked, but because I got to get a PC. It's they were talking about maybe doing it for Max, but I don't have that much time. My PC laptop broke, and I never had a reason to fix it, and now I do. But yeah, I would just reiterate a lot of the same stuff that you said. Particularly the story stuff is spectacular. I mean, it's, you can say like, oh, I wish I had, another companion, or I wish the companions did this. It's like, well, we've never had companions before, so enjoy that. Yeah. And like, oh, I wish they had more story options. It's like, I've never seen anything near to this many story options, so enjoy that.
Not only that, how they present the story and the cutscenes.
But not only, like, I thought just individual missions would be fun, but it's not only that, it's like how the decisions you make will carry through one particular quest, so you can lie to the first guy and then go to the second guy and then turn the first guy into the second guy, and then like a week later you get a message in the mail from that second guy telling you how he killed the first guy, and it's just great. It's neat how all those things keep popping up throughout the game. I will say though that I have been playing a lot of Minecraft, and that's because we set up a server at work, and not only can we see only can access the server, which is great because it's like reminds me when I go to Las Vegas and there's like a new casino that's been built every time I go, and it's like you sign on and like John or Marco, one of these crazy guys, has built like a skyscraper or some underground tunnel or some like train station or something. But you can also access a live map, which we discovered a couple days ago. And so I can boot it up in a browser and see like Marco's head, just boop, just like clicking across the map and see the our environment in real time. And that can also be pretty dangerously addictive. So
Yeah.
That'll take
For
up most of my
me,
time.
I played a ton of Skyrim. I still haven't finished the game, but pretty much the first day I got off work, I just dove into it head first. Not doing a lot of the side quests, just trying to kind of get through the campaign. I do a couple things here or there that look interesting. Some people may say I'm playing it wrong, quote unquote, because there's a lot of people here who've put in 170 hours and have never even finished the quest. Marcus?
I'm at 93 hours, and I am like 2 missions away from finishing the main storyline.
Yep.
But
So I played a ton of that, and then I left for the holidays and took my 3DS with me. I took Mario Kart, and I took Super Mario 3D Land. I played a lot of Mario Kart, particularly because once I got to where I was going, a lot of my younger relatives were playing it, so we played a lot of head-to-head stuff, which made it fun. I never touched Mario 3D Land. I never played it. I still have not booted up the game. I cannot quite figure out why not. I typically love Mario games. There's just something about it that has not compelled me to start playing it yet. And I bought it and the whole nine, and I just have yet to start playing it. So I don't know why, to be honest with you. It's like I usually love Mario platformers. For whatever reason, I have yet to crack into it.
It's
So
because you're dead on the inside.
it could be. So lots of Mario Kart for me, lots of Skyrim. Hopefully I get Skyrim finished here in the next week or so.
Why would anyone fight over this dump of a world?
Why does anybody fight over anything? There's money to be made.
All right, next we're going to talk about our most anticipated game of 2012. It's going to be really quick. We're each going to pick one game, talk for about 20 seconds about it. Marcus, go.
Uncharted 4. No, BioShock Infinite.
Yeah.
It's got Ken Levine's stamp all over it. It looks really cool. I love the way they've taken it. Love the graphical style. The whole thing about being that high up in the air for somebody who has a mild case of vertigo at the best of times. Just the prospect of looking off and falling off stuff is I am stoked for it. I was going to say Mass Effect 3, but
Another worthy pick.
I'm getting more and more concerns about Mass Effect 3, unfortunately, based on what I've seen so far. So I hope it surprises me, and it's still going to be one I play day one. But BioShock Infinite.
Don't have to wait long to find out about Mass Effect. Ryan.
Yeah, I also am salivating over BioShock Infinite. I was a little let down with the VGA trailer. It was cool, but I was expecting to get a kernel of something more out of it.
Yeah, I mean that was pretty shady. I think. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah,
Like,
it was like a
VGAs.
remix of the E3
Yeah,
trailer.
I watched it.
with
And I'm what? There's like 30 new frames in here of
They
stuff
show
you
that
haven't
guy at the
seen.
end, but,
right? Which you had actually already seen before, but not full body.
Yeah. And then my underdog pick, and I hope it comes out this year, is The Witness, which is by the guy who did Braid, Jonathan Blow. And everything, I haven't even seen the game in motion yet, but everything I'm reading about this game, I really, 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 really want to play it. Really.
So I'm gonna have to pile on the BioShock pile. I've been playing games for a long time. I really look for unique experiences from games. Everything I've seen from this game, minus the VGA trailer, which was pretty disappointing, has been amazing. It looks unlike anything else coming out this year. It's got shooting, it's got puzzles, it's got action-adventure elements. It's kind of like everything rolled into one. So if there's one game I'm looking forward to, that's it. I also want to mention the Wii U. Obviously did not show well out of the gate at E3. There's a lot of proving to be done with that machine. Again, I feel like it's going to be able to provide some very unique experiences. It will be awesome to see the first games for that system. So I'm also excited to check that out. Brandon.
I would probably say StarCraft 2 is my most anticipated game, but there's not a lot of really interesting things to say that people probably haven't said already. Yeah. But my underdog is really SSX. I've been waiting for the spiritual successor to SSX 3 for a really long time. I thought On Tour was really linear and cluttered, and I didn't like the design they did for it. I had friends who were really into Blur when that came out, but like I just want my dual analog HD.
Don't you think Tricky though is the best SSX so far?
It is, but 3 was just amazing. 3 just looked so great and just had this really great. I thought the franchise was going in a direction to make it more open, and then like I said, On Tours felt really linear, and so I thought I was really scared that Deadly Descents or his original title is like, oh, it's going to be another gimmick, and then just I look at that gameplay and that looks like SSX 3. It basically looks like what I thought the next gen game we were going to get 3 years ago was going to look like, so I can't wait.
I would agree with you. I think SSX is a hugely underrated game. I love that franchise.
Like not award-winning, but fun.
Tricky
Fun.
was my
Fun.
favorite one. I mean,
I'd agree
they had
with
Run DMC on it for a start. I mean, that was awesome.
It's fun. It takes a lot of skill. There's hidden depth in there for the expert players who really want to dig and kind of go below the surface. I love SSX. I think that's a great pick.
And let's just say there's a shitload of really good games coming out this year that we will get into during the year, but this is just our gut reaction. There's a lot of games that we haven't seen too much about. There's XCOM, there's Darkness 2, there's
Max Payne 3.
Max Payne 3, which is still not exciting me.
Yeah, I
really
think a lot of people
kind of
feel that
scaring me
way.
a little. So it's gonna be a good year, but I don't know if it's gonna be as good as last year.
We shall see.
But promise me that if it comes to it, you will not let him take me back.
All right, so in the interest of fairness, we laid into Sony pretty good over PlayStation Network being hacked last year. And now, over the last couple of weeks, it's come to light that people have been using some kind of an exploit in FIFA to hack people's Xbox Live accounts. What's the story there, Marcus?
All right, so this has happened to both Brandon and myself in the last couple of weeks. Everybody, if you search online, there is this FIFA hack. There's this way of phishing through. If you're signed up for, I think it's the EA Sports,
alerts or whatever it is.
which you have to do for on the Xbox if you want access to online play for any of the EA Sports games or any of the EA games, period. But basically, people have figured a way to hack your XBLA account and then spend a lot of money on the FIFA Dream Team. Now, the FIFA Dream Team players are, the Uber players that you can then, bump their stats up even more, and then you can actually sell them online through EA system and
real cash.
for real cold hard cash. So that's what people are doing. And I got notified that somebody was like, had bought 4,000 points on my Xbox Live account, and I cancelled it. But this is really kind of worrying to me, and this is the issue I have with season passes, because my money goes to Xbox and I sign up for Xbox Live. I don't want to have to sign up for additional stuff, whether it be Ubisoft, EA, Activision, or whoever, on top of what I'm doing with Xbox Live, because
I'd agree. It also starts to get confusing after a while. It's like all the Uplay stuff from Ubisoft. It's like, what does that crap even mean?
yeah, and the more my credit card is out there, the more likely it is to get hacked. And
You're right.
Microsoft has said, "Oh, we're unhackable." But I've noticed that in doing my research that there's been a lot of people who've been hacked, and Microsoft have really sort of
Swept it under the rug.
yeah, not really took responsibility and refunded people's money and being acted very efficiently. But it's like they know there's an issue here, and and it seems to me that there is a disconnect somewhere, whether it's EA being hacked or it's Microsoft. I've got a funny feeling that it's Xbox that got hacked, and they have swept it under the rug. They haven't come out. And the one thing I will say is Sony, even though it took them a month to do it, they came out and said PSN's been hacked. We're sorry. We need to fix this, and they try to make good. Microsoft have kept stum, and I'm really kind of irked with them on that one. And like I said, I know Brandon had the same thing.
I just want to say for the record, thank you for the Katamari Damacy achievements. That really helped. There were just a couple more than I needed to get, and you got them for me, and that's great. I appreciate it.
So wait,
Thanks.
someone really got you new achievements?
There was the last 2 games that were played on my account was that and FIFA. So
It's really odd.
So moving on from there, and another sort of EA related thing, this is the Old Republic, and there's been a couple of glitches. Obviously the game's only been out a couple of weeks, and there are some glitches that people are using to exploit, but they're basically incurring bans from BioWare, who are getting very ban happy instead of just disabling the glitch right away. First one is the dancing glitch. When you're being attacked by people and you're in a party, you start to dance, and the bullets and the lightsabers, they can't hit you, and people can't focus
That's
on
kinda
you.
awesome, actually.
And it's kind of distracting. People
it's a lesser known ability in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
They explored it in the expanded
The
universe
dancing
novels.
deflect.
It's
Jedi
it's
electric
complex.
slide.
You read the iJedi series; they explain the whole thing.
And then there's another one where if you go to the planet Ilium, which is a level 40 planet, you go below, and you say mid-30s, it's covered in treasure chests. So you get into these security chests, and there's lots of Uber loot that people are using then to sell online, and they're not equipping them, so they're not binding, so they can sell them on the market, and it's basically destabilizing the currency. So, but instead of, BioWare saying, all right, well, we've noticed you're doing this. This is a warning. People are just getting banned out the wazoo straight away in a game that's, 3-4 weeks old. Yeah. And I think I'm calling shenanigans on that one as well. It's like, if you've got these glitches, as soon as you're aware of them, get a patch out, destabilize it, yank the treasure chests, make it inaccessible to get to that planet, and unless you're a certain level. So
I guess a lot of it is determined by the terms of service that someone agrees to, right?
Yeah,
and we never read those things. It's like the South Park where
we're all going to be human centipedes at some point. Yeah, but no, I just want to throw that out. So my New Year's resolution is I am not going to sign up for any online pass for any game in 2012. So when I get sent games for review, I will make a point of not reviewing the online component, and saying why, because I am no longer confident in Microsoft, Xbox, Ubisoft, Sony, any of those guys holding my my credit card details, because I'm sorry, I can't afford to have some twat out of wherever going bananas and making money off me. And the sooner we can get past this season pass shit, the better.
Janga. There's
no way I'm doing something like that.
So Santa did deliver a nice little gift of game trailers over the holidays. We got the PlayStation Vita straight from Japan. Now, Bloodworth, you were kind of the guy who got the shipment in. I believe you probably played with it more than anybody else here so far.
Which is kind of sad because that's like an hour and a half. But we were gone while it came in.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. I played with it for probably 45 minutes yesterday, something like that. So what are your initial impressions? Let's talk first about the actual hardware itself.
Yeah, I didn't get to mess around with the actual menu interface too much, except
it's not the cross-media bar, though. It's like this new
kind
of proprietary.
It's like a pinup board, kind of like things just kind of populate on it.
Bubbles are just kind of like scattered all over the place. It feels a little disorganized to me. What I do think is interesting is any games that you've put on there, they keep the bubble there, even if you don't have the game in the system.
Yeah.
So
and as soon as you pop a game in, like the bubble for it pops up and kind of materializes on the splash screen. But I'm surprised no cross-media bar, especially after how hard they pushed that for the last half decade or more.
I think it's funny. I think they're playing catch up to the touchscreen phenomenon because you played Uncharted as well, right,
yeah.
Blood? There's a lot of menus in that game, and you have to use the touchscreen for them. Which is always a kind of a pet peeve of mine.
They had in the analog sticks to navigate menus.
Yeah, that's always a pet peeve.
It drove me crazy. It's like, look, fine, touchscreen, great, but give me the option to use the other ones if I want to.
Yeah, I think they're really trying to push the touchscreen, even though the DS came in like 04 or something like that.
Behind the curve there.
But I don't know. But then the iPads and iPods and stuff like that. But I think it's a conscious decision. I'd have loved to have been in the argument where they were debating about to bring the cross media bar or some sort of hybrid.
Yeah. But yeah, it's its own proprietary. I think that's a good way to describe it. It's like a pinup board, like you'd see at your school or whatever.
Hardware-wise,
a little messy.
I think it feels pretty good. One thing that seems
weighty, got some weight to it.
The one thing that seems a little weird to me is like when I'm playing Ridge Racer and like holding down the X button, I feel like that right analog stick is a little bit in the way.
I'd agree. The buttons are really small.
Yeah,
I think there's a learning curve because I only played Uncharted. I only played the prologue. And I felt like I could get through it, but it didn't feel like a second nature sort of thing quite yet.
Yeah, the analog
sticks
don't feel like you're playing controllers.
But I'm sure you put a couple hours into it, and it'll probably feel better.
Yeah. I mean, I was also like, I didn't, bother to switch over the controls. I usually play inverted, so I mean, I had a little bit of that normal awkwardness going on. Otherwise, I felt it was fine. I was actually surprised though at the fact that as much as I touch the screen, I don't feel like I'm smudging it up. You have to really look to see.
I was smudging. I'm an oily bastard, though, so.
I don't know. I mean, I had to really kind of hold it at an angle in the light to see the smudges. Like, while you're using it, you don't really see them. But on the flip side of that, I felt like maybe the touch screen wasn't as sensitive as I hoped it would be. I felt like I had to push pretty hard for it to register on the top at least. Do you guys have any...
I didn't really have that.
I didn't notice one way or the other. I know Matt Blair, who was in when we actually got it. He's one of the guys who works on the website. He said the touchscreen was extra responsive, and I'm like, how is a touchscreen extra responsive? But I don't know. Maybe I have to play around with it.
I felt
more.
the opposite. I felt like I had to push harder than I thought I had to.
I know me and Shane, the back touchscreen, I haven't quite used it yet, but I was surprised to feel that there's no texture to it. And we talked about maybe that it needs like home row buttons or like guide buttons to like know where you are. Or
the
something.
prototypes that I played did have a textured background, but even they did not have like something to orient your fingers. So even if it's a little ridge down the center of the touchpad on the back, so you know that your fingers have kind of got to the center, I think that would be great. But otherwise, pretty cool to have that.
Yeah, I still think we all just need to put way more time.
Yeah,
this
sure.
is early impressions. The screen, this is the first time I've got to see one up close with the screen on, and the screen is fucking gorgeous.
Killer. Yeah, the screen is incredible. No doubt about it. And the games, so small. They look, honestly, like...
the SD cards.
They're SD cards.
Yeah.
It's pretty shady.
No, they are. They're SD cards.
Yeah, I know they are. They're SD cards with, like, a reformed casing, essentially. And the games come in these little... baby jewel cases. They're
adorable. I figured this was like if Yoda had like a Blu-ray collection. This is what they'd look like.
That's a good way to describe it.
Also, the memory stick, that's a choking hazard. I mean, you can lose that thing so easy.
It's like a mini, almost like, it's a little bigger than a mini SD card. Like, that's how small they are, yeah. And then, you're talking about build. I do feel like it's got a good weight to it, but the whole thing is made out of plastic. And it's not like the hard plastic that the PSP was made in, where it could almost fool you to make you think it was like acrylic or something like that. It's like a pliable plastic. Now, the old PSP had that band of metal that went around the rim of the system. This system looks like it has that, but it's actually like painted plastic. It's not metal. So to me, it feels good. The build feels good. It doesn't feel solid state, though, like I expect from pretty much every Sony product I've ever bought. But it has a good weight to it. Feels maybe a little bit flimsy, I think. Let's talk games.
Yeah.
We got what? We got 4 games?
Yeah, I've played 3 of them. I played Army Corps of Hell, Uncharted, and a little bit of Ridge Racer, which I've not been on the Ridge Racer train through the years. So it's still, when I played those games, they don't feel natural to me. But
because the power sliding in those games is like ridiculous. It's just not grounded in any form of reality. Yeah. Uncharted obviously is a game probably everyone wants to hear about. Starts out very strangely. Like, its tutorial is this prologue, and it just kind of starts, and there you are, and some dude's like, "That's Drake, kill him," and you're like, "Wait a minute, like, where am I? What happened?"
And then like abusive tutorial screens.
Yeah, they keep.
It's not a good
tutorial.
It's not a good tutorial.
It also, and one thing we all kind of brought up yesterday, is it kind of exposes like the platforming in Uncharted.
It's
as
not
being
platforming.
Bullshit.
It's traversal. When you sit there and the first time you trace the line that you want Drake, maybe they'll do something more with it down the line. But when you trace a line and you just watch Drake automate,
just go.
It's not platforming. It's traversal. I tried to fall to my death and I couldn't even.
Yeah. Well, one thing. I don't think you even have to trace. I think you just click where you want him to go.
Just put your finger where you want to go, and he just automatically goes there.
It's like the win button.
There was a lot of stuff. It's just like constantly throw the Vita features in your face kind of thing. There's one part I got to where it's like rotate this object around and like. And why am I doing this? And like I just had to keep spinning it until I got 100%. I'm like, okay.
I played 10 seconds of the second chapter, and it was just like take photographs, investigate things, solve puzzles all at once. And I'm like, hey, I have to do real work now. Sorry.
Yeah, they do really flex the muscle, so to speak, of the Vita with that game. Like it kind of uses all the features. Now, I think kind of the dark horse is Army Corps of Hell.
Yeah, that doesn't really use any Vita features.
No, I know. Not at all. He uses the analog stick, and that's pretty much it. But it is a straight-up Pikmin ripoff with lots of blood and gore. I still enjoyed it, because obviously you don't get to play those games very often. So I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah, the thing that threw me off about it, though, is that, with Pikmin, you just kind of toss your units and let them do the work. With this, you have to actively attack. Like, you throw 20 units on a guy, and then you hit the attack button, and then you kind of do this, like, sequence of buttons that pop up on the screen.
Well,
and
it's
for
like
a while, I
you
wasn't
hit the attack
getting
button first, and all your guys that you throw on the enemy will go off of the enemy, and then you hit it again for them to kind of come together and slam the enemy and actually do the attack. It's kind of cool, actually. I liked it.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure what triggered it, but later on there were some that would actually have like a sequence going back and forth between the circle and the triangle buttons.
Yeah, pleasantly surprised by that game.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun. We're definitely going to put some more time into that in the next couple of days.
Last game, Super Street Fighter 3?
No, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom. I didn't play it.
Justin
Anyone else?
played it, and it's like, this is bullshit. And then he proceeded to play a couple more matches. But
Well, I
think
think
it's a port, right?
The D-pad and the buttons are pretty small in the thing. So I can see where fighting games, it may take a little bit of an adjustment period to get up to your desired skill level with something like that. But I thought
I wonder why they are so small, though. Because I can understand the analog sticks being smaller because you don't want it to be too high up. But
there's a lot of real estate on the face of that thing. I mean, the screen does take up the majority of it, which is the right call and awesome. But there's plenty of space for them to make them a little bigger. So I'm a little puzzled by that, too. But the thing is so jammed with stuff. And it's big. That's the other thing, I think. Yesterday, it's like you first see it, and you're like, oh, it's a PSP, and then you put it in your hands, and you're like, whoa. Like, it is really like a mini tablet, I guess, is a good way to describe it. Overall, though, I'd say our impression's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm still not going to pre-order one quite yet. But
I probably I'm not going to talk about it. I'm completely on the fence right now about it. Before, I do have it pre-ordered right now, technically. And I know I've said on the show I'm buying it day one, but I have to admit that now that we have one in the office that I have accessible, I'm starting to waver on that a little bit. There's not that one game that I feel like I
I'm still just not sure if I want to play Uncharted as I'm sitting on my couch with a 3-inch screen.
And have a girl say, oh, charcoal rubbing, that's cool.
And
that part sounds okay.
Yeah. And with the 3DS, you kind of had that wow factor with the 3D, and it had kind of some pretty cool stuff built into it, as far as like metagames built into the actual system that were fun to fiddle around with. Don't really have that with the Vita. Also doing really poorly in Japan.
Yeah, it's
great first week, sold 350,000 around there.
Yeah.
Second week sold around 80,000 and was like the worst selling console of the week.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, the third week sale should be out very soon. But yeah, I mean, it's funny. Nintendo was ripe for the picking this whole time, and
they couldn't capitalize on it.
Nintendo have done well, and obviously I've not chimed in because I've not played the Vita yet. But yeah, Nintendo, they had a banner Christmas. They did the right marketing. They had
4 million
software.
Wii sold. That is just
4 million 3DSs sold.
Yeah,
I mean that's
selling better than the DS.
They're now up, and it's viable, and they need to have that strong Christmas. I still think there's a lot wrong with Nintendo, and you'll see how they continue to support the console, the handheld over the next year. But yeah, I've got a funny feeling that the Vita, unfortunately, is going to be DOA.
The power of Mario. All right, everyone, that's it for our first show. So I'm sure you guys all remember our E3 All Access coverage from last year, where we're actually rolling that into CES this year. On Tuesday, January 10th, we will have live coverage on Spike TV from 1 to 5 p.m. Eastern, and obviously you dial that back 3 hours for the West Coast live time. Later on in the evening, we'll have another report from 11 p.m. to midnight, kind of wrapping up the show. While CES is about consumer electronics, there's also a lot of gaming stuff going on there. We are going to have an exclusive interview with Reggie, which should be pretty interesting following the holiday and with the ramp up to the Wii U. Obviously, we'll be covering all of Microsoft and Sony's big announcements from the show. Make sure you check it out. You'll see a lot of familiar faces from GT on there, so make sure you watch and tune in. Also, want to mention we kind of stealth launched over the holiday our brand new blog, Side Mission, and that is at sidemission.com or at gametrailers.com/side-mission. Michael McWhorter, who you've heard on the show, and a couple of different things here on GT, is the managing editor of the site. As you guys know, he came from Kotaku. Has a pretty good pedigree in that space. You guys should definitely check it out. Not just a gaming blog. There's going to be a lot of really cool opinion pieces on there. The tagline for the site is gaming news with a view. So we want to make sure we have a spin on pretty much everything we mentioned there. Pretty excited about it. It was a long time in coming, and it is one of the big initiatives that I've been talking about for quite a while. So make sure you check it out. Make sure you follow them on Twitter as well, at Side Mission, to get your daily news updates, and we will appreciate it. So that's it. Hope everyone had an awesome holiday season, and I hope you have an even better 2012. Invisible Walls is up and out.